Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Today, it's a double act. How much fun is this? I've got Ted Leschke. He's the Managing Director of Lode Resources, and Andrew Van Heyst. He is the Executive Chair. I was going to say Chairman, but of course I was told, no, I'm the Executive Chair. Had to make sure I was politically correct there, didn't you, Andrew? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the ASX code is LDR. The reason I've asked these guys to both come on is they listed in July of 2021, so July last year, so it's a baby. They're in the New England Fold Belt. And talking to them before, I just found that this is a really interesting project, very underexplored, and I believe that these two have got their hands on something pretty special. So I wanted to bring it to the small caps community. It's silver, base metals, couple of surprises in there as well. So let's unpack it all. And welcome to Small Caps, both of you. Andrew,
thank you. Thanks, Gary.
Start with you. Can you give us a brief overview? Who's Lode Resources?
Yeah, sure. So Lode Resources was founded by Ted and I in 2019. Mm-hmm. And we were looking for in a tier one jurisdiction, some great brownfields projects. Ted's good work basically identified the New England Fold Belt, which at that point really hadn't had any attention from miners and hadn't had any serious mining for some 50 years odd. All of the attention while we were establishing this company was the Lachlan Fold Belt, and there was a real brown rush, and there'd been some great discoveries, alkanes, Boda, etc. So we looked at the New England Fold Belt as an opportunity. It's got the same basic mineral endowment in terms of occurrences as the Lachlan, but about less than 10% of the drilling over 50 years. And 50 years ago was really the last time companies had a proper look at it. So we've established ourselves as, I would say, the dominant landholder or leaseholder in the area. Since that time, we've been active drilling. Since that time, Fortescue have recently come in and taken a very large area directly north of our Webbs Consol project, and the American giant Newmont Gold has also taken a very large area to the west, but we have leases next door to that. So we're in a really exciting period at the moment. We're coming up to the end of the year. We've been drilling at Webbs Consol. We've had some fantastic hits. It seems to be a very high quality project. We think it's got real scale. We've proved grade, high grade, and now we're in the process of showing the market and proving scale.
Thanks for the overview, and I'll get back to the Newmont and Fortescue because that's pricked my attention. Ted, what's your background? And Andrew just mentioned Lachlan Fold, New England Fold. What I want to understand is why this area and why these projects. And Andrew mentioned nothing's been done there for 50 years.
I'm a geologist and I have worked in the mining and exploration industry, but I've also had considerable experience in mining analysis, having worked for brokers and funds managers alike. So I guess my expertise is in marrying the two fields, and that has really been helped in identifying quality projects and what will attract investment going forward. So what attracted me to the New England Fold Belt is that the mineralisation is there. The early work by large companies such as Electrolytic Zinc, which eventually became Pasminco, has shown that the mineralisation does exist. It just hasn't been drilled. I mean, of course, there's been some drilling, but nothing like the Lachlan Fold Belt. The ratio of drill holes is 13-1.
Oh, wow.
So it's just hasn't been drilled, and if you don't drill, you don't find. It's as simple as that. So we were able to identify projects that showed good strong mineralisation at surface, and maybe to some depth by historical mining, and we were able to drill those and prove that mineralisation does have those widths and grade that could support a large mining operation. So that's what we're excited about. We are proving that thesis that you can find large deposits in the New England Fold Belt.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm not a geologist by background. The New England and the Lachlan, what's the difference? Why did everybody go skiing off to the Lachlan and leave New England alone?
I think success brings followers. So, if you look at, say, Acadia, that's been around for a little while, North Parks and the such, these large sort of porphyry systems, as well as other styles of deposits, have attracted the big companies and in turn attracted the explorers. So these things become self-fulfilling. Nearology is a big thing. People like to peg ground near known deposits. New England missed that sort of rush, and then these sort of beliefs that it doesn't exist becomes a self-fulfilling fact. But the evidence is there that there is the endowment of the New England Fold Belt is equal to the Lachlan Fold Belt. It's just at the surface, and so you need to drill to prove what you believe, and that's what we're about. And we're disproving the myth that you can't find big deposits there in New England.
I think the myth wasn't it, Ted, that if there was a deposit there, they were going to be fairly small, fairly thin, unlike the Lachlan Fold, which, as you said, Katie Ridgway, massive.
Yes.
And you're disproving that by the drilling that you've done to date. So what have you done to date, and why do you think that, given what Lode Resources has done to date, it's really proving that the potential is there?
So on the onset, we of our 7 projects, 3 were drill ready upon listing. And so we went about doing some preliminary drilling in each of those projects, that being Webbs Consol, Urella Gold, and Trough Gully Copper. After that initial drilling, we sat back and said, well, which of those 3 projects is likely to produce ongoing results and move to the target faster, given the results we've seen in our initial drilling? And that was Webbs Consol, because we had managed to achieve thick intercepts, up 30 or 40 metres, in the order of 300 to 400 grams per tonne silver gold. Sorry, 300 to 400 grams silver equivalent, and that is high margin dirt in anyone's talk. And if we could keep extending what we've found or finding new additional lodes nearby, we were on the path to find to developing a mineable project, and we're down that path now. Yes, it's not mineable yet. We're still very much in the exploration stage, but the projection is that we're heading towards a resource at some stage that will be mineable and will support a standalone operation.
Andrew, do you think the market is waiting a little bit for some more drill results? I kind of want to understand, because I think your market cap's, what, about 10, 12 mil? Am I right in saying that?
Yes, perhaps 14.
Oh, 14, there we go, ladies and gentlemen, 14. With some cash. So your question is, I think we've been delivering some really great results into the market, but I think there's a couple of drivers. One is that it's been a really terrible market. As anyone that's got a portfolio of small caps realises, unless it's 100% lithium. Exactly. So there's been a boom in lithium, but everybody else has been suffering. So I think that's a point. I think that people are not familiar with the New England. RVR has had the Hillgrove operation, but really there's been no exploration to date. No big hits, and very little, relatively very little activity. So it's just not that well known. I think people recognise that these results are good, and I can tell you that there are a lot of eyeballs on us. And I think there's even corporate eyeballs, and people are having a revisit of the New England. We were just in the Noosa conference where we saw you, which is great. And so we get a lot of attention and a lot of questions about the New England Fold Belt, and certainly we're seeing some other majors also, have a look and wanted to talk to us. So I think that's it. And I think, yes, the market is waiting to see what unfolds with our drilling. To date,
and it's important to realise we've only been on the ground at Webbs drilling for 10 months. So it's seriously early days. And because the mineralisation is from surface, they've been shallow. So to date, the deepest intersection that we've reported was at the main shaft, which was 150 metres vertical. Mm-hmm. So our programs going forward are going to go deeper, and we're going to continue to expand our understanding of the structures and the lodes. And as I said, it's actually about a 12-kilometre system, and we're only scratching the surface. And we may not have been drilling the best. We certainly probably haven't been drilling the best lodes yet, but we will.
Okay, so in that 10 months, how much drilling have you done? Just give us some of the high-level results, if you wouldn't mind, just to give people an idea of work done to date, and then I want to go on to what's coming.
Yeah, so, I'm going to throw it to Ted, because we've had great results from 3 projects that we've drilled, and I'll just let Ted run you through those best results.
Okay.
So we've drilled approximately 2,000 metres at Webbs, which is a relatively small number, and it's but what we have been able to achieve with that small amount of drilling is a whole series of results. We've drilled approximately 35 holes, or 32 holes in the first phase, and of that, 3/4 have hit meaningful intercepts. Of that 34 holes, half have been high endowment. So high endowment being defined by grade times width. Okay. And so that's a very strong success rate for an initial program, and that's what gives us confidence that this mineral system is strong and it will continue to produce results. We were just able to see the mineralisation surface, drill it, and achieve strong results with relatively preliminary work, relatively low preliminary work. So that's why it's so attractive.
Ted, going forward, I'm speaking to both of you, and we'll come back to share structure in a minute, but it's mid-November. We're coming up to the silly season. What are you guys doing? You're still going to be working there? I guess for my beautiful audience out there, I want to find out what's the news flow coming up. And I know that I spoke to you at Noosa, and you're pretty excited about what you got your hands on. So I want to know what's coming up.
Well, there are assays in the lab and assays on the way to the lab. So we will have very strong news flow into the end of the year. Okay. And we think we'll finish the end of the year strongly. We are incredibly excited about the work that we're doing on the ground at the moment. And we have a really strong management team, including 2 board members that have really great wide experience, including a geophysicist, Keith Mays, who you might realise might not know, but who the viewers might not know, but he was the geophysicist that discovered rock face at KGL, which was a really high-grade copper deposit. But we've just completed and completing a suite of geophysics work, which will feed into our own data and allow us to have a really strong start to next year, where our drilling will be super high impact, and we're going to be having a conversation with the market about scale next year. So we're about as excited as we could possibly be, and I'd get into trouble if I said any more. But we look forward to the next couple of months, and I think the market will see what the assays say.
I kind of, and I'll come, I said I'd mention shareholding in the structure in a minute. I want to talk to you about that. But I liken the sort of the Newmont Gold and the Fortescue coming on board as like Bunnings have come along. They're building a massive warehouse. And by the way, this is not me telling you to go buy shares, ladies and gentlemen, but it just is interesting to me that you guys were the first movers. Ted said this is an area that potentially might have something similar. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, Ted, but are you saying it could be similar to the Lachlan Fold Belt, but it just hasn't been looked at? But I think the fascinating thing is Fortescue and Newmont have peg ground around you, but you had the first mover advantage.
That's right. The opportunity was there. It's just people just don't like being going out on a limb, and so everyone was tripping over themselves in the Lachlan, looking for the scraps essentially.
Yeah.
And the New England fault belt was just sitting there relatively open, and when you assess it, the prospectivity was equal to that of the Lachlan. So now that's just the surface. What you have to do is drill, and we were able to secure some very good projects that showed very good mineralisation surface, and our initial drilling has shown that those deposits that are high grade and thick, like high tonnage, are there. It's just a matter of doing the work.
Yeah, Fraser Range and Patterson were also not really, gone over hard until they made their discoveries in those areas. So it will take a discovery, and we think we're onto Webbs Consol had already previously been mined, but no one had ever considered scale, and we think it's very exciting.
Sorry, Ted, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's worth remembering that the last time Webbs Consol was mined was in the day of horse and cart. We're not
oh my God, are you serious?
That's right. So that's the lack of attention, that this area has received. When the historical mining is quite historical in that sense.
1890.
That's insane. So does that mean that you're using sort of new technology to enable you to, I guess, take care of the shareholder funds and put it to best use, that they obviously back in the 1890s, they didn't have access to any of that?
Well, of course, they didn't have any access to geophysics and the geochemistry that we have today, but quite simply, they didn't have drilling. Drilling is, in that sense, a relatively recent invention. In those days, they explored by digging, and so the shafts or pits they put down was essentially an exploration tool. So that's how poorly this area has been explored in terms of modern exploration. It just hasn't received the geophysics, geochemistry, or drilling, and that's the important part.
And we are, be assured, we're using the very best cutting-edge geophysical techniques and applying that to these areas. The Webbs Consol for the base metals and Urella gold project for the gold. So we're applying the best science, and which means that our hit rate is high. So Ted mentioned before, we've had a 75% hit rate. We'd like to increase that, but it just means that for shareholders, we're using the money very carefully and very effectively, and we're not wasting money on misses. We like the hits, and we want to see those continued.
All right, we're almost out of time. I just want to ask you one thing. You know me, I'm known as that gold lady. Urella Gold, what are you doing there? Because we've talked a lot about Webbs Consol. You spoke 3 projects: Urella Gold, Trough Gully Copper, Webbs Consol. Just quickly are they equal favourite children, or is one favoured over the other?
Well, we listed thinking the Urella Gold project was our flagship project.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually think we have 2 flagship projects, but the widths that we're getting and the high grade at Webbs just means that's just fought its way to the top. We're very excited about Urella. Ted will talk to you a little bit about what we think it is. We are going to go back to Urella. We're currently processing some geophysical data as we speak, and we're looking forward to that report. And that we think that is a company maker, potentially a company maker as well. But I'll let Ted talk more about that.
The history of mining and exploration at Urella has really been a focus on thin vein gold occurrences, and that doesn't really cut it in terms of modern mining. You need to have volume. The breakthrough there for us was the discovery of disseminated gold in the siltstones. So once you have dissemination, you have the potential for larger volumes, and that's a breakthrough that's not been appreciated yet, but we'll work on it. We did put down some holes, and we've achieved some reasonable success there. Good high-grade hits over good widths.
Such as what, Ted? Such as what?
Oh, I don't have those figures in front of me. But
like 15 metres at 2, including 7 at 3, 14 metres at 1. Most of this from surface, like 12 metres, 16 metres, the 10 metres there's 5 metres at 2.5. So, and this is into
consistent.
Consistent. We've had some expressions of interest on it. We're not talking to anybody on it, but what sort of system is it, Ted?
So it's what they call igneous related intrusive related gold system. That's known around the world as the type of genesis that will support very large gold deposits. But the critical thing here is we're not focusing on thin veins. We're focusing on wide disseminations, and that's the factor that will drive this project going forward.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. We are running out of time. And if I could just briefly touch on this, and then I'm going to ask one of you to give me 3 reasons why people should be sitting up and taking notice of Lode Resources just now. But before I do, the capital structure is, I think that directors and management have got almost half of the project.
Correct.
So I guess that, how does that come about? Is that just because this was a private company and you put some money in beforehand? I guess it just allows a little bit less liquidity in the stock as well.
Well, perhaps I can talk to that and address that liquidity issue as well. So yes, we founded it in 2019. We picked up most of those projects in 2019, and we explored as a private company for 2 years before listing. So Ted and I owned the project, owned Lode Resources at 100%.
Okay.
We got it to the point where the exploration was bigger than our back pockets, so we needed to raise money. And I'm not ashamed to say that I'm happy to say that we got it listed. We raised just on $5 million in the IPO, and we've been spending that money ever since, and to good effect. So that speaks to the why we have our positions. And I want to note that Ted and I, subject to shareholders' approval next week, have participated in. We've only done one raise since, and we both participated in that. So as to liquidity, when we put out the copycat announcement, 8 million or 9 million shares traded. So there's, even though the register is relatively skewed to the top, there's plenty of transactions, and it's not difficult. And the register is getting some institutional names on it now, which is good. And I think there's a lot of people watching it. As I said, we just raised money in August, so we're not come raise. That's also very important for your viewers.
Absolutely, yeah. They've just done a raise, ladies and gentlemen. So this discussion is not about raising money. All right, guys. I want to talk to you both again come January, because it sounds to me like there's going to be a lot of news coming out, those assay results, more drilling going on, extending this area that you've drilled, which is currently about 3.5K. But as you said, Andrew, could be up to 12 kilometres in an area, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe it? No one's done any sensible drilling since for 50 years, which I find quite extraordinary. All right, let's wrap it all up in a bow. I don't care who answers this one. 3 reasons that you think our beautiful audience should be sitting up and taking notice of Lode Resources right now.
Okay, let me have a go at that. So number 1 would be the Webbs Consol mineral system, which we think has the potential to be a major system. We certainly think where early signs are that there'll be enough high-grade ore there for a standalone operation. Okay. We will prove that up. How big it gets, well, that will be the subject of the drilling that we have planned and are planning for next year. So that's one. The second one would be that Lode gives you the best play on the New England Fold Belt. 7 projects, just under 2,000 square kilometres of ground, I believe we're the largest holder. If we're not the largest holder, we would be the second largest holder, bigger than Fortescue, bigger than Newmont Gold. We know that other majors are having a look, and certainly I think that FMG and Newmont coming in has sort of raised a few eyebrows. More will come, I believe, and some of them will have to talk to us because we think the best brownfields projects. Third is the drill bit. The results from our drilling will be ongoing, and we are a busy little company. All of the funds go into pretty much into the drill programs, and we're very excited about what we have coming up in the next couple of months, and certainly very excited about next year. In fact, it should be a great time for shareholders.
Fantastic. Well, that opened my eyes to it, even though I'd spoken to you briefly at Noosa. There was so much more when we just spoke today. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. New England Fold Belt. Nobody was watching. These two guys went in and pegged the best ground there. And guess what? Fortescue, Newmont, they come in behind. So I think well worth a watch. Not financial advice. Please do your own research. And if you want, call up Ted, call up Andrew, ask them the questions yourselves as well. But as always, do your own research. But this is a very exciting time for Lode Resources. ASX code, as I said right at the start, is LDR. For now, Andrew Van Heyst and Ted Leschke, thank you so much for joining me on Small Caps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Kerry.